Imagine being locked up for 24 years for a crime you never committed. Well, that's exactly what happened. North Carolina man who was wrongfully imprisoned for 24 years has now received a full pardon. This was because of the governor. Let's put up a picture of Mr. Dante Sharp, who was given a pardon of innocence from the North Carolina governor, Roy Cooper, okay? That's him and the fam, right? He's happy. What led to him going to prison? Well, first of all, let me say systemic racism did. That's first and foremost, systemic racism is why he had to give the government 24 years of his life, okay? In 1995, Mr. Sharp was given a life sentence at the age of 19 for the first-degree murder of 33-year-old George Radcliffe, whom he was accused of killing a year earlier during a drug deal. Sharp maintained his innocence throughout and said in 2019 during an interview that his faith and knowledge he was innocent guided his refusal to accept offers of a lighter sentence in exchange for a guilty plea, okay? How did this happen, okay? This was because of the testimony of a 15-year-old girl who claimed she witnessed the murder, but later admitted that she wasn't even present at the time of the shooting. This was all public knowledge. They knew she lied about it, okay? Nothing happened. The wheels of justice did not turn in his favor. The NAACP had long pushed for Mr. Sharp's release over the years and urged Governor Cooper to issue a pardon of innocence. In recent months, racial justice groups have demanded the governor grant Sharp the clemency needed in order to apply for compensation for his wrongful conviction. They held vigils in front of Cooper's state residence in downtown Raleigh for several weeks, okay? This is how he was released from prison. Sharp was unsuccessful in his repeated efforts for a new trial until a former state medical examiner testified that the state's theory of the shooting was not medically nor scientifically possible. The judge ordered more evidence to be heard. Sharp was released from prison in August 2019 after the prosecutor said they would not pursue another trial. Mr. Sharp said, and I quote, "My freedom is still incomplete. As long as there's still people going to prison wrongfully, if there's still people in prison wrongfully waiting on pardons." Wow. Sounds like we got a new champion out here fighting for justice. Unfortunate he had to give 24 years of his personal life to expose this extreme evil and systemic dynamic inside of our criminal justice system. Caroline, what do you see here?
Well, one thing I do want to point out is how one of the biggest injustices that the court system, the criminal justice system uses is how they weaponize time. They say, well, we can't do this until this. We can't go forward with this trial until this judge is ready or we have this evidence. Meanwhile, someone is languishing in prison for a crime that they didn't commit. And one thing we all know you cannot get back is time. You cannot get those years back that you were, that people wrongfully accused, waiting on the criminal justice system to proceed. And it's the most heartbreaking. I mean, these stories to me are the most viscerally blood-boiling stories because even though, as we mentioned, he is free, the story doesn't end here. Right. Because the emotional effects of being back into society after that long will be there forever. The reintegration is such a difficult path. My heart goes out to him, and I really think probably the only way that that transition will be made easier for him is to keep on this path of helping others. I'm sure that there's no way he can go and just live a normal life. That's not how it works. That's not how. It's one of the biggest things we need to talk about in criminal justice reform is integrating people back into society, especially when they've done nothing wrong. So my heart goes out to him, but these stories really just the good thing is that they're very galvanizing for Americans just to know how much needs to change from beginning to end, and beyond the end of this, the story is not over.
Yeah, and he's not the only one. Obviously, there are others who the system has forgotten about. They know they're innocent, and there are many more who have pleaded guilty to crimes they never did. That's what they tried to do to him. Plead guilty would give you a lesser sentence. Well, somebody has taken that deal. A few somebodies, they've taken that deal, right? Reentry is one of the most rewarding things someone can work with. I work with a few reentry organizations myself, and we're talking about men and women who have been incarcerated maybe 2 to 5 years, right? And they have extreme difficulty adjusting back to normative living in this societal construct. Imagine if you have been locked up for 24 years, my goodness. Wow, all right, we got more, go ahead.
One thing I also wanted to add was I think what was interesting in the article about the 15-year-old eyewitness said something along the lines that investigators may have told her, may have mixed her up, which is also something we see a lot in these cases. Police investigators talking to witnesses who, yeah, I'd say at the age of 15 are very susceptible to leading questions, rhetorical questions, things like that. And so that just underscores how this was a failure on every level. I mean, the fact that this young woman may have been weaponized to, open and shut a case that was anything but what really happened is really, really awful.
Very good point.